So you all heard of homeopathy, and some of you experienced homeopathy. And America was the land of homeopathy 100 years back. And it slowly vanished from America. And in India, homeopathy became a major therapeutic method. And after conventional medicine, 60% of Indians use homeopathy in different times. And there are 200,000 doctors practicing in India. There are 200 medical colleges teaching medicine and homeopathy together in India. And we have education from degree to MD to PhD levels. So I am proud to represent a nation which supported homeopathy when it was thrown out of the main places where it stood. But even today, we learn our books are written by the famous American homeopaths 100 years back. So it's a homecoming for me, in fact, to say that in USA, homeopathy needs to be revived for a proper health care of the public. So the freedom of choice of the individual, the patients, is the most important thing. And for that, the TTAC is working hard, and Tai and his partners are working well, and we are also part of that, because without freedom, nothing will grow. So my dear friends, so my paper today is Homeopathy, the Pharmacology of Personalized Nanomedicine. Is fundamentally a research which I went through last 10 years. I'm a practitioner and teacher for last 30 years. And 2010 onwards, after 20 years of teaching and practicing, I started involved in research. And I utilized the best laboratories in India, like Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and other universities. And I did extensive studies with homeopathy to see what is the content of these dilutions. By God's grace, I could find the presence of particles of the original drug materials in all the samples I have studied. More than 200 samples. Investing a huge amount of money for the study. So these works are already being published. And also, this came out as a textbook, and it is a standard textbook for the homeopathic students in India now. Let us look into what is nanotechnology and nanoscience. It is a science of last 30 years. One of the most modern one. If you look at a nanometer, it is 1 by billionth of a meter, or 1 by 1,000 of a micron. So my interest was to see whether homeopathy has some content which is far beyond the existing level of scientific understanding. And this study has taken me to an elaborate work for 10 years. And these two books are the product of this work. There, the study of the homeopathic drugs and its nanoscale materials are well explained. And luckily, I have printed this book last week, and I presented my first copy to Tai as my best friend yesterday. So this is something which is why medicine, why the science, and why we are looking for alternatives. If the one science is complete, we don't need other sciences. So these are some of the particles which you can see here, the analysis of aurum metallicum homeopathic drug. One sample I have given here on 500 resolution nanometer, 100 nanometer, 20 nanometer, 10 nanometer. In the 10 nanometer scale, you can even visualize the atoms of gold in 200th dilution, the black dots in between. So the other drug, you will see here, sodium chloride, the common salt, which is a very commonly used homeopathic drug for multitude of diseases, starting from common cold to leukemia. I treat the patients from common cold to leukemia with the same natrum muriaticum. And natrum muriaticum will give extraordinary result in all these conditions. But the particles of natrum muriaticum, when you look at it, the size is 0.4 nanometer to 1.1 nanometer. Why it is important? Why it is important, we are coming to that point. And this is another electron microscopic picture of Hypericum perforatum, a homeopathic drug which is used for multitude of nerve injuries and lesions. So why I said this basically, this molecular and genetics backend which is evolving in the recent past, come to the conclusion that how the cancer can be combated. You will see that conventional chemotherapeutic drugs generally combat by causing direct DNA damage and cell death. But homeopathic ultra-high dilutions appears to adopt molecular pathways by causing modification in signaling cascades through interaction in the DNA by epigenetics. Homeopathic drugs produces epigenetic modifications. This is a scientific fact proved in the last 10 years. Scientific community is not noticing much about that, but it is a truth. So this fact, when you look at, it is a clinical study published, these are published papers. There you can find that chemical-induced malignancy, skin cancer in the mice produces, this the first one is A is the normal, B is the carcinogen treated, C is the successed alcohol, and the last D and D you can see the treated with cecal core homeopathic drug, and which produced this much of genetic upregulation and downregulation in the genes. This red arrow shows the downregulation of genes, and the other one shows, the green one shows the protein upregulation, the genetic upregulation. So these drugs are not just placebos. They are directly interacting with the genetic system and regulating the genes. And that is very, very important. This is another very recent study where it shows the Gelsemium sempervirens, ultra-high dilutions, produces upregulation of downregulation of 56 genes and upregulation of 5 genes. These all are scientifically published papers. The green band is downregulation, and the red band you are seeing is the upregulation of the genes.
Under constant attack from
this is something you please listen for a minute.
Background radiation. Free radicals are the byproducts of normal metabolism in human cells. Seen here as bright particles, they sometimes react with DNA and cause chemical changes. Radiation can also affect DNA. For example, ultraviolet light from the sun can cause harmful chemical changes in the DNA of skin. These changes can lead to kinks in the DNA that prevent genes from being correctly read, or deletions that alter the type of protein produced. Thanks to constant biochemical repair work, most mutations are corrected before they have any effect. But in rare cases, mutations can accumulate, and this can give rise to diseases such as cancer.
So the mutation of the genes. This pictorial presentation says the mutation of the genes is the fundamental reason for all the diseases. And we know that. But when we came to know that? We came to know that in the last 70 years. Before that, DNA structure was not known to us. Now we know two facts very clearly in science. One is, the biological systems are fundamentally, they are managed in a nanometer scale. Whether it is antigens, antibodies, DNA, RNA receptors, or anything in the body, fundamentally managed in a nanometer scale. And we know that the whole system of human existence is controlled by the DNA. I'm coming to the philosophical part of the science where it went wrong. So the medical science needs to accept the fundamental problem of the human diseases are from the genetics. And also, epigenetics is fundamentally the cause for the gene mutation causes diseases, and epigenetic modifications can cure the patients. That is more deeper. So homeopathy is a nanopharmacology because the drugs contain nanoparticles, and homeopathic drugs produces epigenetics. It produces epigenetic modifications. That means homeopathy is more advanced than the conventional biomolecular medicine, which is based on the fundamental rules of Virchow's and as well as the bacteriological theories, which are fundamentally based on the philosophy of Descartes. That is a Cartesian philosophy of mind and body segregated. And the body is, human body is a mechanistic machine with a unity of organs and tissues This is what Cartesian philosophy says. So there is an error in the Cartesian philosophy. And that error in Cartesian philosophy has created the health-related or the medical industry into a wrong direction. And now everywhere we are speaking the emotions, mind and body should be combined. And there is only one system of medicine in the world which has the ability to integrate the body, mind and emotions in a prescription, in a therapeutic approach. That is homeopathy.